So you meet someone and the chemistry is instant. Conversation is easy. You feel more alive around them. There's a tingly charge in your body that's really hard to ignore. And it already feels like something you don't want to lose. Does this sound familiar? And then maybe a few days or weeks or a couple of months go by. The relationship is new and you are starting to feel insecure. You're paying really close attention to what they say, how they say it, how long it takes them to respond to a text message or voicemail. A slightly longer gap, it doesn't feel right. And when they start to pull back, even if it's just a little, you immediately sense that. Something in you then goes, I'm going to lean in harder. I'm going to try more. And before long, your whole sense of self-worth is getting tied up to how they are showing up or not showing up. And at some point, you find yourself asking, why am I feeling such strong chemistry with someone who is actually not meeting me? And if that question feels familiar, you're not alone. And what I'm about to say might feel confronting. What we often experience as chemistry isn't necessarily compatibility. It's often your nervous system recognizing something it already knows and then organizing your present experience around it. And there's another piece to this that most people don't talk about. And that is, in those moments when that's happening, your nervous system doesn't just shape how you respond. It shapes what feels real to you, what feels meaningful, and what feels possible. And that's why this pattern can feel so strong, because it's not just physical attraction, it's your past moving through your system in real time. And in this video, I want to show you why that happens and how this pattern can actually begin to change, how it can transform. And what I'm offering here isn't just an idea. This is something I've seen over and over in my 30 years of work with people. So I'm thinking of someone actually I worked with recently in Path of Love, a week-long group process where people come together to explore relational patterns in a very direct way. I'll call them Alex. And when Alex applied for the group, one of the first things they said was, I know what I do. I keep ending up with people who can't really show up for me, and I'm left feeling abandoned. I've read about it. I understand it. I just can't stop. And Alex knew all about it. They could connect it to their childhood. They had a parent who loved them, but was warm and present only some of the time, and then other times just completely emotionally someplace else. The connection was real, but it wasn't solid. It wasn't reliable. So as an adult, Alex would meet someone new and feel a very particular, very familiar charge in their body. And eventually they find themselves anxiously waiting for that next message, second guessing everything that was said. Even while one part of Alex knew this pattern well, another deeper part was completely hooked and couldn't stop it. So what began to shift things for Alex wasn't more analysis. It was slowing down and paying attention to what was happening in their body in the moments when that attraction appeared. And what Alex started to notice was that this feeling of chemistry had a very specific quality. There was a kind of a empty anxiousness inside, tightness in their chest, nausea, butterflies in their stomach. And with support, Alex was able to slow this down, feel it as it was happening. The anxious anticipation, the emptiness, the way all their attention was moved outwards towards the other person, wanting something from them. And as they stayed with that, something deeper began to come into their awareness. They could feel the fear, the helplessness, that familiar sense of, am I going to be alone again? Do I matter? And this is the part that changed things. For the first time, Alex wasn't just inside the experience, run by it. There was something that could be with it, a kind of inner witness, not analyzing and not managing, presence. And they weren't alone in it. They were seen, they were felt. They were responded to in a way their system did not expect by the others in the group. And this created something that had not been there before: self-compassion, more space inside, more presence, a true sensing of their value, of their worth, of their lovability. So the next time moving forward that this familiar charge showed up, it was still recognizable, but it did not take over in the same way. There was more solidity inside, a trusting and knowing of who they were. And from that place, they weren't just reacting differently to what was happening, they were actually perceiving differently. Their whole perception changed, and then Alex could have experiences with people who were emotionally steady, people who before seemed great, but they didn't feel chemistry with them because it didn't create that same kind of anxious charge. And instead, someone who was consistent, emotionally available, things that had felt like safe friend energy were now attractive. And so what Alex experienced isn't random. There's something very specific happening in our bodies when that kind of attraction arises. Because attraction doesn't start in our thinking mind, it starts in our nervous system. So before you've had time to even evaluate someone, before you've decided, are they a good partnership fit for me, your body has already registered something. And this is happening through what researchers call implicit memory. These felt patterns stored in your body that it's not about carrying a story. It's more of a sense of what feels familiar. This is the same kind of memory that lets you ride a bike without thinking through each step. Your body just knows. And relational patterns work the same way. From very early in your life, before you had language, before you could think about things, your nervous system was learning, how does connection feel? How safe does closeness feel? Can I expect somebody to be there? Do people come and go? What happens when someone is present with me, and what happens when they pull away? So think of a young child with a caregiver who was loving but not steady, not predictable. They were really there some days and somewhere else entirely on others. As a child, we cannot make sense of that back and forth, up and down, so we adapt. We learn to watch closely. We learn to read the room, to see what other people are feeling, to shape shift ourselves. And then something gets wired in as this felt pattern, like love involves effort. Closeness cannot be depended upon. And maybe this is familiar to you. So let's then fast forward 20 or 30 years later and you meet somebody, and again, they're wonderful sometimes, and then they pull away. And your body, without any input from you, lights up. Not because it's a good sign, but because it recognizes the terrain. This is familiar. And familiarity at our nervous system level can feel a lot like attraction. And this is exactly why insight alone won't change this. Insight happens in our thinking part of our brain. Attraction is faster, it's subcortical, it's automatically shaped by years of your lived experience. And you can know very clearly that someone is not right for you and then still feel that magnetic pull towards them. And when the past is moving through you, your awareness gets pulled into it too. You're not observing the pattern, you're inside of it. It becomes the lens through which you are looking at things. And this is why it feels so real, so much like the present. So how does that path actually get to change? Well, these patterns were formed in relationship, and they shift most deeply in relationship. Not just understanding something differently, but feeling something different in your body in real time. When you can stay with what's activated instead of leaving yourself in it, something important happens. You're no longer only inside the pattern. There's a part of you that can feel it without becoming it. And when you're held in that by others, when you're seen and responded to differently than what your system has learned to expect, your nervous system isn't just understanding something new. It is rewiring by experiencing something new. Think of it like walking through a new path repeatedly through the forest with others. That's real change. Because transformation isn't just changing your reactions. It's when something in you becomes larger than the pattern, a more whole, more spacious presence that was always there, just waiting to be recovered. So if you've recognized yourself in any of this, I really want to be honest with you. Understanding the pattern is not the same as being free of it. You can know exactly what's happening and still feel that pull, still find yourself waiting for the text message, your sense of worth rising and falling with however the other person responds, because this lives in your body, in the places where awareness hasn't fully arrived yet. And what Alex's story points to, and what I've witnessed again over and over, is that the shift happens when the fear and the shame underneath finally get to surface. And instead of being alone with it, something meets it. That's what Path of Love offers, a week-long group process where these patterns show up in real time with real people. And then you're supported to stay with what gets activated rather than managing it alone. So if something in this video has stirred something in you, there's a link below. You can check more out there. And I want to end by saying real change, the kind that reaches the places insight can't, tends to happen in relationships. And it's very available to you.